Hello there, and welcome to this another tier video where we're going to be looking at core infantry. Now, how do you define core infantry? So I could have gone for all infantry. So I'm looking at essentially predominantly. Sorry, my name's Dan. I like talking about Warhammer. Anyway, we could have gone for have become royalty. No, I could have gone for all core infantry, like core stuff that's not cavalry or monstrous infantry. But I wanted to do shooting troops as like a separate tier list, and I don't think it's easy. They've got different battlefield roles. I'm kind of looking at what the battlefield role is for these. Now, some of these don't really fit in. So, for instance, we've got Furies here because they're core infantry. For they're not. They're definitely a combat battlefield role because of what you can do with them. As in, you can, they get 2 attacks at strength 5, which is pretty good. But they're not that kind of blocky core. Some of these do actually have shooting weapons, like the Chaos Dwarves, who are probably going to get S tier again. But the Chaos Dwarves, with their blunderbusses, are just amazing, and they slap hard in combat. So that's in here, even though but because it's battlefield role, is not really to do that much shooting. It's really to be a solid block of infantry. And then I do have Skaven here. And you'll notice that I've used rattling guns because that's actually what you're buying when you're buying your Skaven clan rats. So yeah, there are some things that I've left out that are core if your general is a whatever. That they're in the elite infantry video because I thought that doesn't make, they're not core, they're core if that makes sense. The ones that are 0 to 1 per army, I've included them because, they are core infantry. And actually, if you take a big enough unit, that could be your entire core slot, points-wise. So they're definitely core. So, yeah, that's it. So, moving on to, let's have a look at Chaos Dwarves first. Now, I'm just going to pop them straight into S tier. And you'll soon see why, because as usual, we can have a look at the rules. So, where the hell are they? They are... Infernal... no, not Ironsworn. No, they're Infernal Guard, aren't they? Right, so Infernal Guard, 11 points is pretty cheap for that stat line. They've got Strength 4, for instance, which is, have I got these the wrong way round? Hold on a minute. Infernal Guard. Yeah, Infernal Ironsworn are the elites. Yeah, I thought I got it the right way around. Where the bloody hell have they gone again? There we go. So 11 points each. It's quite cheap. The Strength 4, which is better than Dwarves. You can give them great weapons, so the Strength 6. You can give them shields, which means they've got a 4-up save, which is pretty good. I mean, fundamentally, you probably don't want to do that. You probably want to take the Hail Shot blunderbusses, which are another 5 points, but that just shows how bloody good they are. You can also give them Drilled and Black Shard, and I think Black Shard is like a ward against 5-up ward against flaming, isn't it? Yeah. And Wizards can wear it too. Although they might not be able to after the recent... I keep losing them after the recent FAQ. Anyway, so you can give them a Hail Shot blunderbuss and shields and drilled and Black Shard armor, maybe not that useful. A Hail Shot blunderbuss has the following weapon profile. It has a 12-inch range, so not a very long range. It is strength 3, which isn't great, but it does volley fire and multiple shots, D3. A model armed with a blunderbuss suffers no negative modifiers for firing at long range, for using the multiple shots rule, or while making a stand and shoot reaction. And if there's 20 or more models belonging to the same unit can shoot at the same target with a Hail Shot blunderbuss, so you'd take 30 of them, they may reroll any rolls of a natural 1 when rolling to wound. So that makes them freaking amazing. So if you've got a block of 30 of these, let's say ranked, 10, 10, 10, that means... You do have to... You are at -1 for move and shoot. which is, you know, kind of unavoidable. But you are ballistic skill 3 anyway, so if you move and shoot these things, the main thing is these are for standing and shooting, right? So these are proper stand and shoot weapons. So when you get charged, you can't use volley fire, unfortunately, but you essentially get 10d3 shots, right? 10d3 shots, so about 20. All of them just hitting on 4s, so about 10 hit, and probably 5s to wound, given most good cavalry is going to be toughness 4. 5s to wound, but re-rolling 1s. So that's like 4 wounds. So you might kill a heavy knight on the way in, which is pretty good. No, in fact, it's excellent. And then you got your 4-up armor save, and then you're basically trying to win the combat by combat res, and then push them back, and then in your turn you get to stand there and offload just a tremendous amount of shots, because, you know, it's 10 in the front rank and then 10 from the back 2 ranks, or probably a bit less. You might lose a few models in combat, but which is just incredible. It's just incredible. So then your about 20 shots goes up to about 40, which is just nuts. So yeah, I mean, they're fantastic. So they're definitely worthwhile taking, and for that reason they're S tier, because, you know, I don't know what else have you got in core for Chaos Dwarves. You've got Cutthroats, which are all right, and you can take a Black Orc mob if you like, which will do. Yeah, but they're just freaking amazing. So, right, who's next on the list? Oh, it is Black Orcs. How fortuitous. So, Black Orcs, oh, pardon me. Oh, it's a very hot day here in Lincolnshire. And Orcs and Goblins are first. They always come first. Heralds of the Apocalypse, really. Right. No, this is Chaos. Now I'm looking for... Jesus Louise. Where are they? Apologies. They're at the top, aren't they? But there we go. Black Orc Mobs. Mobs. Black Orcs are fantastic. Again, this is probably another unit that might go into S tier. So, as far as infantry goes, I know all infantry is at a bit of a disadvantage compared to cavalry, I know. But anyway, the rules for cavalry in this edition are pretty strong. Infantry, less so. Anyway, you've got these Black Orc mobs. They are 12 points each, which is on the pricey end for core infantry. You can give them... They do have motley crew, which is an interesting ability, which means they can all be armed differently. And as long as the majority weapon, the majority of the unit. So basically, what I'm saying is you don't have to take shields for everybody, which is, you just get to save some points on shields, because as long as the majority of the unit has a shield, then you get to save, and they're the ones that you take off as casualties. So, you know, then in combat you're armed with great weapons. You can't use your shields then, because attacks are allocated to the fighting rank, and if they're all great weapons, you know, then that's it. But, you know, you can basically take, out of your, let's say, 20 that you're probably going to take, if you're going to take a big chunky unit, out of those 20 you'd probably want like 8 with great weapons and let's say 12 with shields. So 12 to take off as casualties to shooting, and no, it wouldn't be 12, would it? It's until you got down to, so you get down to 5. So 5 basically, so 5 of them can get shot to death, and then you've got the other 15 for combat. So that's a decent balance. So that's why they're kind of 12 to 8. That's my logic anyway. Because, you know, the first 4 that die would be shields. So, you know, and then the last one then shields would. Then after 5, you're down to 15, which would be 7 shields and 8 great weapons, and then you'd have to take shooting hits on the great weapons. I can't remember exactly how that works actually. I think when you actually make the save rolls, as long as the predominant model is a shielded model, then it's fine. They can take magic standards. Some of the Orc and Goblin magic standards are actually pretty good. So, yeah, you can give them stubborn and veteran, and additionally they have the Quell Impetuosity ability, which stops Orcs and Goblins nearby being impetuous, which is, keeping your lads under control is pretty good. You often see people, essentially, at tournaments having, like, a Black Orc on a Wyvern to be, like, the super killy dragon thing, and then they take a unit of 5 of these, because you've got to take 1 unit of Black Orcs per Black Orc hero, and vice versa. So if you can't, you've got to have a unit and a hero, right? Both or neither. So you often see 5 of them in tournaments, and I suspect they're sort of kept at the back behind other units just to quell the impetuosity of those units. So the Wyvern and Black Orc goes off with like cavalry, and then these march behind like some Night Goblins just to sort of do that. Anyway, so where am I going to put them? I'm tempted to put Black Orcs at the top end of A tier for now, and possibly make them S tier later. Then let's continue with Orcs because we're on the page. The next core choice are Orc Mobs, which are similarly brilliant because, in a sorry, let me just just needed to adjust my chair. My knee's starting to hurt again. Although it's a lot better, I can stand up from a chair using that leg partially, but that's good. Anyway, so Orc Mobs, you can give them war bows for free, but like, what's the point? You're paying extra for toughness 4 archers. Like, you've got cheap goblins for that. Anyway, you can give them additional hand weapons. You can make them frenzied and give them war paint, so you can have some. Can't then give them skirmish, can you? Which is interesting. Anyway, replace light armor with frenzy and then have the war paint special rule if it's frenzied, and then you can take some big stabbers, which are cool weapons that kind of hurt quite a bit, as you'd imagine. Or you can replace close order with skirmishers. 0-1 unit in your army. Now, the reason they're really good is because you can make them big uns, which 2 points a model takes them to 7, which is still, it's a reasonably priced upgrade, because basically what it does is, where's the rule? When engaged in combat, a model with a special rule has +1 to strength and gains armor bane 1. So it doesn't work for shooting, which is why they've put that in there. But does work in combat. So they get choppers anyway, which applies to all their weapons. So it's not just single hand weapons with Orcs. So you can give them thrusting spears. So Orcs with spears are decent again because they get the choppers rule. It means when they get charged, they're like initiative 4, which is pretty good. You can give them shields. You can't give them heavy armor, which is a bit of a downside, but whatever. Light armor and shield, so their toughness is what saves them really. Toughness 4's, good for core infantry. And big uns basically makes them strength 4, which is good. And the choppers rule is, I think, in the first round of combat, you get to re-roll wound rolls of 1, I think, and another AP. So there, I think that's it. Let's just check. I might be talking rubbish, so check the rules to make sure you've got it right down. Weapons are all weapons. Weapons. Oh no, choppers a rule, isn't it? Idiot. Reroll. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. So it, you get the double effect because that armor bane. Did it say armor bane or did it say AP? these drugs, these painkillers I'm on for this bloody knee are really messing with my head. Choppers, AP1, yeah. And Biggins is Armour Bane, yeah. I knew it was one of each. I can't remember why. Having just looked at it and immediately forgotten it. Yeah, so they're Armour Bane 1, AP1 spears. So they're fighting in 2 ranks. You know, they've only got 1 attack each, so they're okay, I guess. I guess they're just middle of the road infantry. They're pretty decent. You know, they're pretty good. Are they going to get their points back? Sort of 50-50, isn't it? So, yeah, I think they're a solid B tier unit. What's that one? Let's do goblins. Now, I'm going to put goblins in C tier because, okay, so as infantry, they're C tier, right? As archers, they're pretty useful. We're just talking about normal goblins. Here we are. We're just talking about normal goblin mobs like this. They are cheap, so, you know, putting 40 of them on the table only costs you 120 points. You can give them spears, but the weapon skill 2 is a bit of a downside. Initiative 2 is also quite slow. So, you know, even orcs have higher initiative, which is weird. I thought it was the other way around, but whatever. You know, you can give them nasty skulkers, which are like strikes first, have an okay attack, but it's not that good. Here they are. Yeah, so they got strike first, so they strike at initiative 10. Like, they've got, you know, a hand weapon, weapon skill 4, strength 3, 2 attacks, you know, Armour Bane 2. They just, like, reveal themselves once you've hit combat. You know, they're all right, but, you know, it's not going to change the outcome, really. If you get charged by a decent block of cavalry and you're goblins with spears, I am afraid you're probably going to break and run. So, yeah, and then leadership 5 or 6, you know, they might not rally ever. So they're not great. They're definitely D tier as infantry. Now, with bows, pretty good. Because essentially you're not paying points for initiative or weapon skill. You're sort of the cheaper because of that. So you're down to 3 points. You give them a bow. They're now just 4-point archers. So, you know, you could take 20 of them. And that's 80 points for 20 bows on the table. Which, you know, they're only short bows, which isn't great. But, you know, they're all right. But we'll talk about that in another video. Then you got Night Goblin Mobs, who are a point more because they have another point of initiative. Night Goblin Mobs are a bit more, you know, about it. Now, Night Goblin Mobs can take fanatics. They're more or less fanatic delivery systems. Now, you can give them short bows, but, you know, 3 fanatics, absolutely great. They can take thrusting spears, which you probably want to do. And the main really cool thing about Night Goblins is netters, right? So we'll just read this rule. When a unit's combat is chosen during step 1.1, so it's at the start of the thing, it may attempt to entangle. On a 1, it's entangled itself, which is obviously bad. On a 2, the enemy unit is entangled, and they take -1 strength, right? This modifier is not cumulative. However, -1 strength effectively makes these toughness 4 because of how the maths works on the wound roll, basically. So, -1 strength. I mean, I guess it doesn't work. -1 strength only works on stuff that's strength 4 or 5 or below. Because 5 would become 4, which is going from a hit wounding on 2s to wounding on 3s. Strength 6 or above, basically ignore netters, you know. So, you know, heavy cavalry, normally strength 4, so they're going to be ignoring the netters rule. So it's not that good against, like, heavy cavalry, but against, like, heavy cavalry with, like, strength 6 or more, but against pretty standard stuff, they're pretty good. And so, just as a unit in general, they're probably B tier. What makes them A tier, or maybe even S tier, are fanatics. Because these are basically, you release, for 75 points, you release 3, like, tokens, basically. You sort of get to control where they go initially, but then after that, they move in a random direction. If you move through them, or if they move through you, at any unit, you take D6 strength 5 hits at AP 3. So that's 3d6 strength 5 hits. Now, you can release the fanatics during any start of turn subphase. So right at the start of the turn. So right at the start of the turn. So what you can do is, to take control of that, is you can march your unit forwards, right, 10 inches, and then you release them by putting them within 3 inches of a concealing unit. Now remember, within, we don't have wholly within in the old world, we just have within. So you got 3 inches plus the size of the fanatic's base, which is, you know, more or less an inch. So it's basically 4 inches away, wholly within 4 inches, essentially, which is, you know, pretty good. And then you get to roll 2d6, which might be, let's say, another 7. So you're sort of going 11 inches, right, with your oh god, my knee, with your initial move. After you've moved 10 inches with the goblin, I think goblins can, or do they move 4? Yeah, they move 4. So 80, so you can sort of rely on, you know, maybe like 18 inches as a threat range for fanatics, which is pretty good. Because in the first turn, during the compulsory monster phase of the turn at which it was released, moves 2d6 direction chosen by controlling player. That's the key thing. During every other subsequent. Now, if they move into another fanatic, or they move into terrain, they're dead, and that's the only way they die. There is a bit of debate about how do you do victory points, like is the unit destroyed if its fanatics are still on the table. I say yes, other people say no. To me, they're tokens, they never were part of the unit. You know, they're just a unit upgrade, that you don't have to destroy all the unit upgrades in order to destroy the unit, if that makes sense. In my opinion, I know other people say it's part of the unit. I disagree. But anyway, they are definitely S tier. I mean, the two use cases are, you know, I've got a unit that I can reliably chuck the fanatics at now, so I'm going to march towards them and create like a little wall of fanatics in the middle of the table. That's a perfectly viable strategy, because then your opponent's got to go through them, and, you know, they've got to sort of charge through them. You know, and you can be really tactical with where you put them. So, for instance, if you know this unit's going to charge you, you want to put your 3 here so that their bases end up sort of in the middle of their unit, so then you can move them, like, out the back. Or if you put them, you know, sort of equidistant between where the unit's going to have to finish up where it charges, equidistant so you can push it to the corner, you know. No, that wouldn't work, would it? Or actually, I suppose if you left it where the corner... Yeah. They do move 2d6, so it's not up to 2d6, and it's not random movement, so it doesn't have that rule. So it's just the 2d6, so it's not, you know, there's a slight downside, but it's not much of one. So anyway, where the heck are night goblins? Night goblins. I should have got a picture of fanatics, really, shouldn't I? Oh, I did get them. I can't remember. Maybe they're night goblins. Oh, have I just put goblins in twice? I think I've just put goblins in twice and I've forgotten night goblins. That's funny. Right, and then we've got these things, squig herds. They're B tier. You know, they've got certain strengths, but also, you know, they've got a 50% chance of getting their points back. So they're cheap, which is good. Cave Squigs are strength 5, which is excellent. You know, 2 wounds. They've got a solid movement of 4, so it's not random movement, so you know where they're going. They are immune to psychology, which is pretty useful, especially in a Night Goblin army, because fanatics aren't. They are impetuous, like more or less everything else. They are motley crew, which means they've got different weapons. Now, you've got to have 1 Squig herder for every 5 Squigs. But that's it. So you've got to preserve that ratio, as it were. So 53 points, basically. 4 or 5 squigs, because you've got to take a squig herder. But you could take, 9 squigs and a squig herder in a unit. And remember, this is a core choice. They do have the squigs go wild rule, which is, pretty good. Which is, if it breaks and flees from combat, every unit within 2d6 suffers d3 strength 5 AP 1 hits. For every additional 5 cave squigs the squig herd contains, apply the +1 modifier to the d3. So if there's like 10 squigs left, and you've decided to break from combat, the unit is basically destroyed, but you'll do d3 for the additional 5. So you need 5 for the d3 hits, but the additional 5 would be d3 plus 1. So like 2 to 4 strength 5 AP 1 hits, which is, okay, but realistically you do want to try and keep them in combat as long as possible, because, strength 2 attacks, weapon skill 4, which is pretty good for core infantry. Strength 5 is amazing for core infantry, and initiative 4 is again pretty good for core infantry. So, the K-Squigs doing fighting are, they're good at doing fighting. The downside is they're only toughness 3 and they have no armor. So like a volley of even Bretonian archers would do them some significant damage. So I'm going to put them B, because either they get into combat and they probably get their points back because they're cheap, or they get shot and run away, in an inopportune moment. Yeah, cool. When they decide to charge a cannon or whatever. Right, next. Should we do demons next? Actually, let's go through the official factions first. It's probably easier to do that. So that's the OGs, the Orcs and Goblins. Now we have Chaos. So there's quite a lot in Chaos that's core. Warriors, Marauders, Forsaken. 3 choices for Infantry. Not chosen. Warriors. Let's start with Warriors. I struggle with these. Really struggle with these. I struggle to see where they actually fit in armies. I think they may even be D tier. Because, toughness 4 is great. Heavy armour and the shield is great. For an infantry block, that's pretty good. You don't really want to do them other weapons because their job is to sit there and take a charge, and giving them shields means they're less able to do that. Although I suppose if you do give them great weapons, they can slap back harder. Whatever. You can make them frenzied or reroll 6s to hit in combat, which is arguably the best choice. +1 initiative in the first round of combat for Slanesh, and flaming weapons, and magic resistance 2 for Tzeentch. So there is an argument for all the marks. All the marks make them, alright. Probably the best is Nurgle, because it's a slight debuff to your opposition's attacks. But, you can upgrade them with standards, but then you're just looking, they're just very expensive for core infantry. I mean, yes, they are the best core infantry in the game in terms of stat-wise, and if you just had a tournament where it was just core infantry, like just these units, Chaos Warriors would definitely come out, pretty near the top, actually. However, they do have ensorcelled weapons on hand weapons anyway, so their hand weapons are magical attacks AP1. Talking myself up, aren't I? Are they better than goblins? Yes. Oh, because they'd beat goblins in a scrap. In fact, they'd beat more or less. They wouldn't beat the blunderbusses. They might struggle against the cave squigs, actually. Yeah, actually, that's probably about right. Cool. Then we've got Marauders, which are just absolute trash. They definitely go down there, which is a real shame because I like Marauders and I really want to do like a Norscan army, but they're just awful. And so why? So toughness 3 is, pretty average. They've got initiative 3. They've got ballistic skill 3. They don't need ballistic skill for anything, but obviously they're paying points for that. You can give them flails, which makes them strength 2, AP 2 at normal initiative in the first round of combat. Great weapons is, initiative 1. And great weapons is an effect that persists. They don't have ensorcelled weapons. Sorry, I was looking at this on the other screen. Idiot. So they don't have ensorcelled weapons, which is pretty bad. You can give them skirmishes and open order. I mean, the only use case I can really see for them is taking like 12 of them with markers each and sticking a wizard on foot in that unit. You see that sometimes. I've tried it a couple of times. It's really not as helpful as you think it is. You're better off just having like a sorcerer than, I guess, maybe 5 with Zinch to. You need 8 plus the unit strength of the sorcerer lord to make it unit strength 9, which gives him +1 to cast. So that's why I'm saying that. But yeah, I mean, they're okay. Am I? No, because they're just too expensive at 6 points. If they were 4 points base and maybe ballistic skill, I don't know, let's say 2, and they reduce the leadership by 1 point, so it's 5 and 6, then I think they'd be worth. And then they'd be worth including. But it's just their base stats are just a bit too high, which is making them a bit too expensive for what else you can. So you can have 1 Chaos Warrior, or hold on, a Marauder, light armor. See, they've not even got armor base. So 8 points with light armor and a shield, and then you probably want to take a flail maybe, which makes them strength 5 AP 2 in combat, and strength 3 AP in first round, and strength 3 AP 2 the rest of the time. Sorry, my knee is super painful today, and I don't know why, and I just keep having to readjust it every now and again. So they're just too expensive for what they do. I mean, yeah, they got Warband and Shield Wall. Warband, as well as giving you an extra. No, idiot. Warband allows you to reroll charges. It also allows you to add the current rank bonus to your leadership, I think, and Horde is +1 to your. So Warband's, a pretty cool rule, but you are definitely paying for it. And I guess the leadership reliability does help, but they're just going to die. They're not going to win combats unless you give them flails and they get the charge off. I mean, Marauder Horsemen are, excellent because you can give them flails and they're just great. But Marauders, you're not reliably going to get that charge off. Certainly not with the current meta being fairly cav heavy. So, somebody delivering something. What are we looking at? Evils. Forsaken. Forsaken are total S tier. They're just S tier all the way. They look expensive, but they're worth it. Like, a unit of 5 of these is going to cost you 120 points. That's the same as 40 goblins, right? So why do I say Forsaken are S tier? Well, firstly, they're skirmishers, which means they're brilliant screens. They have heavy armour and a 5-up ward save. So they combined with toughness 4, they're pretty tough. They can be given Swift Stride, which means you've got a 14-inch threat range with these things. Or you could give them Hatred and Fear or that, but Swift Stride to me is A1, because it's the ability that seems to be winning tournaments at the moment. That and Dragons. And then also at the start of combat, they get to either have poisoned attacks or go up to AP2 or get Killing Blow. So this is random, it's not reliable, but all those effects are good. And with D3 attacks each, 5 of them charging in, that's probably going to be like 10 attacks. They're going to... Weapon skill 4 is pretty good. They're going to do some damage, right? And Swift Stride means you're more likely to be up to initiative 6. So, they charge into a unit of goblins. Yes, the sneaky gits or whatever they were called are going to pop up. 3 of them probably do nothing. then you get 10 attacks back. That's going to, let's say it's AP2, it's pretty average result. Well, all the results are average actually, but anyway, let's say it's AP2. 10 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, like 5, 6 dead goblins, and then the goblins have got like 3 ranks and a banner, so they've lost the combat. And then that happens turn after turn after turn. Just the Forsaken just chew through these goblins and then win. So, they're definitely worth the points. Where the hell are they? Oh, yeah, I got them in unit form. I think it's their Bretonnian Foot Knights. Oh, I can't find the graphic. I definitely downloaded one for Chosen. They just look like, I think that's them, isn't it? That's the Chosen. They'd also, but they would struggle against blunderbusses. Now, Black Orcs actually, are they as good as Black Orcs? I think I'm saying they're S tier because I love Chaos Warriors. I think actually they're there. But then again, I do think Black Orcs are S tier. Yeah, they're better than Orcs just because of Swift Stride. Yeah, I'm putting a lot in S tier already. I'm going heavy. So that's them. Next, moving on. Come on. Ugh. Beastmen. So we've got Gauls, we've got Ungors, and this is a if your general is a blah, one of them. So not and not them. So we're not looking at Bestigors, we're looking at Gauls and Ungors. Now, Gauls are A tier. No, yeah. A tier because of what they do for this army, right? So you take 5 of them, they're skirmishers, whatever. They're just brilliant cheap screens, right? To stop your good stuff from getting charged. So you can put these screens up front, and then you can put your chariots like a decent charge distance behind these. So then your opponent has to deal with the Gauls because they can't get around the Gauls because 5 plus an inch, that's a 10-inch corridor that they block off. So you've really got to deal with them, and if you haven't got shooting, you're going to struggle. And even if you have got shooting, like toughness 4 and -1 to hit, because skirmishers is pretty good. They get shields for free, so they have got a 6-up save, which isn't great, but whatever. Replace a hand weapon or its shield with a great weapon. Oh, that's a true horn. Sorry. A true horn can take a great weapon, but you wouldn't upgrade anybody in a skirmish screen. That would be silly. So yeah, I mean that's what they do. They do die every single game, but that's kind of their job. So they are definitely A tier, but not because they're any good, but because of the battlefield role that they play. And now I can't find them. Do you know what? I keep seeing all the vampire counts ones, so I'm going to do the vampire counts, and I'm going to put Gauls up when... Is that the Gauls? I think that might be Gauls. So A tier. Bottom of A tier, definitely, but A tier. They're Hobgoblin fighters. They're black. They are... yeah, okay. I think I can identify the rest of them. I can't find the Ungors. No, Ungors I was going to do in missile troops because that's their job, isn't it? Yep, so that's the only one from Beastmen. But still, they get a good rank. What I'm also doing is, as I'm going through this tier listing, I'm then compiling like a spreadsheet to see if my tier listing could be a good predictor of what's good at Warhammer. So I'm doing a bit of a study based on this as well. Right, and then finale, we get to, oh, come on, Khemri. Now, Khemri. So we've got Tomb Guard and we've got Skeleton Warriors. Now, Tomb Guard, what to say about Tomb Guard? They have Cleaving Blow, which is excellent. You can give them an extra attack by putting a Necrotect in there, which gives them hatred and +1 attack, which is brilliant. So reroll hits is good for weapons, well, weapon skill, anything really. And an extra attack is just fantastic. You can give them drilled and Nerkaran Phalanx. Nerkaran Phalanx means if they just push back, they can choose not to move. So they can just decide to stay in combat. And you can give them drilled, which, you know, they can get reserve move fairly easily through like spells and stuff. So having drilled would be pretty useful. They can't march though, so it's pretty useful. Especially for falling back in good order, because that's a move, so you get to use drilled. When you get pushed back, technically it's a move. They've said before any move now. They've been pretty clear about that. So, you know, before a pushback, you can use your drilled rule. So that's, you know, that's really useful in general, let alone the charge shenanigans that you can't do because you can't march. But anyway. Cool. Yeah, you can't take demonology, can you? I was just thinking if you could give it fly, because things that fly can march. But yeah, anyway, Tomb Guard, pretty useful. Actually, they're basically like 12, maybe 13 points. You might want to give them halberds. They're already strength 4 though, so there's not really... They've got a Kopesh, so they're already AP 1. So the halberd isn't an AP upgrade. It's just a strength +1 upgrade, but then you lose your shield. So I'd be tempted just to keep hand weapons and shields, to be honest. Because again, their job is to take a charge. And then you can give them stuff on top, which is, you know, again, pretty useful. So are they going to get their points back? That's the question. So basically how I rank this is S is almost guaranteed to get you points back. A is both in terms of either sacrificing themselves or, you know, battlefield role, or in terms of competence. A is you're pretty likely to get your points back, like 60% plus. B is like 40 to 60, and C is below 40%. You're going to get your points back. D is it's almost impossible to get your points back. Like, you know, that's how I rate these things, because, you know, getting your points back is how you win games. Right. Skeleton. I don't know where I put them. This is the problem with doing them one unit at a time. There's skeleton. Maybe I'd put them in elite, but they are here. They are a core choice, aren't they? Have I just done all that for no reason? Bear with. Maybe taken as a core choice. Right, okay, so that's they're not a core option. Not a core option. Okay. So I've just done that for no reason. Skeleton Warriors, again, these are pretty solid. You're probably going to get your points back because you're going to resurrect them over and over and over and over again. You need a big block of them, you know, but thrusting spears means big blocks are good because you definitely get to fight with the front 2 ranks unless somebody manages to kill them all. Now, they do have regen 6, which means that's less likely. They do have light armour and shields, which gives them a 5-up save, which is okay. Toughness 3. They do have magic standards that are pretty good for defensive stuff, if I remember rightly. I'm probably wrong, because, like I said, my brain is full of drugs at the moment that aren't helping me to think very well. Maybe it's in the thing. +1 weapon skills, alright. Unless making a charge move, unit carrying local free reform at any point during its movement. That's probably not that useful. Yeah, no, they don't have defensive banners. I'm lying. So I think you're more likely than not to get your points back, but it's hovering around the 60% chance mark. So they are good. They're good. They're good. They're not very good. They're good. Yeah. Okay. So that's the evils done. Let's do the good guy book. Let's start off with dwarves. Now, again, we're doing core infantry, so it's basically just warriors. Because rangers, quarrelers, and thunderers are shooty things, and that's an if. So it's not core. So we've just got dwarf warriors to look at. Now, dwarf warriors are 8 points, which is, good value for a toughness 4 thing with a heavy armor already. You can give them great weapons and shields. You probably will, so that's 10 points. You can give them drilled or veteran. Again, you probably will, so they're now 12 points for drilled, veteran, shield wall, magic resist 1 built in, and close order, which is, I don't know why I said close order. That's not really worth talking about. So, they're pretty good. Movement 3 is a significant downside, but there are banner runes. I do remember rightly. There are banner runes that make them better at receiving charges. So they are pretty good. Are you likely to get your points back? I think they go in the middle again, because it's kind of 50-50. If against an average player, you might get your points back. Another way of thinking about this tiering is, S tier is they're going to get points, or they're going to be worthwhile even against excellent players. A tier is kind of like, they're going to get some points back, but excellent players will know how to deal with them. And B tier is like against an average player, you'll probably get some points back. And D tier is you're going to have to be fighting against somebody who makes a massive blunder for you to get points back with them. So Dwarf Warriors, I think they're solid B tier stuff. The moving is a problem. They're there. I don't know why I keep looking. So, solid B tier, better than goblins. No, they're night goblins, aren't they? Or no, what are they? Oh, they're orc boys. Better than orc boys. Yeah, not better than night goblins though. Sorry, dwarves. Oh, I've just got to go let my daughter in because she's forgot her keys. I'm recording.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. Can you make me a coffee? Can you make me a coffee, please?
What?
Can you make me a coffee, please?
Oh, yeah.
Right, where was I? Getting lost in books again. So dwarves, I've put the dwarves down. Yeah. Who else? We've got a lot to go through. We're already at 45 minutes. I've been faffing though. Empire of Man, again, there's really only one choice. You've got, so you've got veteran state troops or state troops, which are much of a muchness. Now, if you're going to be taking either, you're going to be taking the veterans, realistically. The two profiles are here. They're both under Empire state troops. So is it one unit and that's better, or is it not? I think this is one unit choice. But you're going to be taking veterans. They're only 2 points more. What do you get for that? Well, you get an extra weapon skill, which is worth, a point probably. And you get the veteran word, which is probably worth 2 points on its own. Which means you can re-roll your leadership checks for like pretty much everything apart from break chests, I think. Any kind of psychology test. So including panic, they get to re-roll, which is pretty good. You can give them the veterans drilled, which again you're going to do 8 points for a drilled, veteran unit. That's pretty good. And the veterans can have a magic banner and a sergeant. So we'll come to their shortcomings in a bit. You can get this Griffin standard. This one's good because you get rank bonus of 2 for every rank behind the first. So I think they can only have a rank bonus of 2, can't they? Yeah, so they can have a rank bonus of 2. So you can get up to 4 basically before the combat starts, which is pretty good. In terms of like a combat res unit, you can give them halberds, hand weapons and shields, or thrusting spears and shields. I'd be inclined to go for the thrusting spears and shields because of the upgrade to initiative. I think that can catch some players out, especially if they've got great weapons. Because if you think you're going up to initiative 4, so you're going to be striking simultaneously with models with great weapons, right? Because they get 1 plus 3 for the charge, you're 3 plus 1 for the spear. So that's pretty important that they don't get smashed by great weapon wielding stuff before they can strike back. So initiative 4 is like a cut-off because of great weapons. Yeah. Um, so, and the command's pretty cheap. You know, they are just in general cheap. So thrusting spears, so they go up to 10 points. So, you know, a block of 30 of them is 300 points. That's possibly worthwhile for like a core choice. They are regimental units as well. So you could, if you took like, I don't know, 30 of them, you could have 2 units of up to 15 handgunners either side. So when they get charged, you get to stand and shoot with, you know, 30 handgunners, which is awesome. Or crossbowmen, or what else? What else has got the detachment rule? You could take a little detachment of 10 state troops and hang them off to the side. So when they charge your veterans, they flank and cancel out the ranks of the enemy, you know. Or just flank and get +1 to combat res. So you're up to like 5. You know, so there's a lot of utility. There's a lot of tactical use. However, you've got to be good at Empire. Empire is like a proper, like almost like historical wargamers sort of army. Like, you need to be really good at tactics and to know how to wield your force to do what you want it to do. I'm just leaning in closer so I can find the Empire state troops. There they are. So veterans are A tier. Normal troops are probably C tier because they just don't have any of the cool rules and they will just run off. Like, they're possibly even trash. But actually, they're probably not actually A tier. They're probably top of B tier. Like, you've still got to be good to get points out of them, but they do let you, right? They're not, you know, they're not in the way, stopping you. So, you know, they're good. Right. But not very good. Kingdom of Bretonnia has some of the worst infantry in the game, as you'd expect. Knights of the Realm on foot are interesting. They save a few points because they're only ballistic skill 2, which is good. Strength 3 and toughness 3 is alright. They've got heavy armour and shields, which again is alright. But they're already up to 11 points. And 11 points puts them on par with like Orc Biggins, who are strength 3 for toughness 4. And, you know, granted, they've only got light armour and shields. But like 11 points, they've got the blessing. So they've possibly got, you know, they've possibly got... and they've got Furious Charge, so they get +1 attack on the charge. Like, they're possibly not going to get an attack off, but anyway. And they got the Knight's Vow, so they ignore panic. So they've got some rules that make them okay. You can take great weapons on top or great weapons with... Of course, you'd just take great weapons on top if you were going to do that. I mean, arguably, you might not want to. But strength 5 is good, so I don't know really. I don't know what to do with them. But 13 points makes them expensive, really expensive. Yeah, I mean the models are absolutely gorgeous, which is why I'm so annoyed they're not much better because I'd really like to take them. But I think even top of C tier, they're probably on par with Chaos Warriors, actually, aren't they? Because Chaos Warriors have got that extra point of toughness. You know, they've got the extra strength, they've got the extra weapon skill, their moves the same. Yes, they've got 1 fewer attack on the charge, but still, they've got the same armor profile, you know, apart from the ward. And actually, the hand weapons have got AP1. So I think in a fight, Chaos Warriors, if they're both armed with great weapons, then, well, obviously it's down to whoever... No, because... Warriors are initiative 4, so they could choose to hit with hand weapons in the first round of combat and still be striking simultaneously. You know, strength, so 3s, you know, so if there's 5 on, what would it be, 5 on 6. Yeah, I guess the extra attack might do it. But if they don't get the charge off, then Chaos Warriors win. And if they do get the charge off, then it's about evens. Yeah, okay, I'm happy there. Because they're about the same points as Chaos Warriors, so like, you know, it's not a great prospect. Then you got Men at Arms and Yeomen, and I'll put them both in the same category of. Did I really make them? Are they? In fact, I don't think they're as good as Goblins because, you know, for 10 of them you could have 30 Goblins, which are better than Marauders. Yeah, the D tier. Now the men-at-arms and stuff I'm also going to put down here. Oh no, I'm going to put them C tier. You can make them stubborn, and you can with a blessed triptych. They've got this dual-use weapon, so it's either a spear, but not a thrusting spear, so you don't get the initiative bonus. Or you can use it as a halberd, which is pretty useful. So they can either bring their shields up and get a 5-up save, or they can just hold their polearm double-handed and essentially use it as a halberd. You know, both of which are pretty good. You can make them stubborn, which is excellent. They do have 2 champions, as a yeoman and a grail monk. They're difficult to deal with because you've got to target the grail monk. So even if you challenge them, then the yeoman will accept. So the grail monk survives and the unit becomes stubborn, which, you know, is great. It can just choose not to take a panic test. So in terms of its battlefield role, its role is to get charged, use the stubborn ability, and then not run away. So you can pin a unit here whilst 2 units of knights or another unit of knights outflanks your infantry. That's their battlefield role. However, clever players know how to get rid of the grail monk, and know how to line up their units so they're going to get rid of the grail monk, and basically I keep doing that, and basically so you're going to have to fight somebody who doesn't know to target the grail monk with all due prejudice to get your points out of them, because that often doesn't work. They target the grail monk dies, loads of other stuff dies, they fall back, the unit that charged you gets to pursue, and then they're just wiped out, and the unit's gone through and is now outside of the charge arcs of your Bretonnian cavalry, which I've done on many occasions against Bretonnian players. So they're just not, they're terrible. But I suppose every once in a while that will work. So they've got a slim chance. It's not almost impossible for them to... You can see how they get their points back. It just doesn't happen very often. So that's Bretonnia. Wood Elves are interesting because realistically we've only got the Eternal Guard. Now the Eternal Guard... Oh, pardon me. The Eternal Guard can be drilled. Veterans, 13 points. That takes them up to 15. You give them shields. That's 16 points. That's... Oh, lovely. Thank you very much. That's 16 points, which is absolutely... Pardon?
Dinner.
Pardon?
What do you want for dinner?
Oh, no, I'll do that in a bit. Sorry, domestic stuff in this vid. So, they're very expensive. For toughness 3, light armor and shields, it's not looking good, is it? You can make them drilled and veteran, and they do have move through cover, which is, again, pretty useful. But you've got to be very good to get your points back. Like, considering how expensive they are, they have Asrai spears, which are just thrusting spears. Like, they're just exactly... Oh, no, they're AP1. That's interesting. So they got to initiative 5, AP1. And fighting extra rank. I mean, that is interesting. Oh, I don't know. I think you've got to be good to get your points back, because they are so expensive. Or you just don't upgrade them and hope for the best. So I think you've got to be good to get your points back. So that kind of puts them 50-50. I think they're better than Squigs, because they'd fight first and they would kill a fair few. And then the Squigs would probably break and kill a load back after they've attacked them. So I think these two kind of cancel each other out in combat. Yep. Cool. Oh, I keep doing that. Okay. So next is High Elves, Core Infantry, Ulthuan Militia, or Elven Spearmen. Now, Elven Spearmen are terrible. They are expensive, rubbish spears that don't really do a lot. They can take shield wall, which is okay. They can be a regimental unit. The only detachments you can take are Elven Archers, so you can have a couple of detachments of Archers either side, stand and shoot, which are only strength 3. And, Archers, as Archers go, they're all right. But again, they're quite expensive. 9 points, plus... You could make them veterans. I mean, that's okay. Yeah, they're just pretty bad. They're just quite expensive. Great models. I love the old models. They're probably better than Chaos Warriors. Probably. Or are they? Yeah, they're probably better than Chaos Warriors, in all told. And then, conversely, the Elves also have possibly the best core infantry in the game, which is 10 points for Leathern Sea Guard. So they're an extra 2 points, and they have war bows, right? So they've got a nice 30-inch range bow, or 24 maybe, can't remember off the top of my head. Ballistic skill 4 is good. And they have this naval discipline rule, which is fan-frickin-tastic, which is when it makes a stand and shoot charge reaction, they can make a stand and shoot charge reaction regardless of how close the charging unit is, so even from an inch away. Once the shooting is resolved, the charged unit may make a free redress the ranks maneuver, after which it will hold and await the charging unit. Absolutely incredible. So you can sit your Leathern Sea Guard in a nice line. Somebody charges them from any distance, they get a volley, and then they get back into. So they're proper dual use infantry that can essentially participate in every single round of the game until they are killed. And there are lots of defensive spells that you can make. That you can make them ethereal. They're just really good. So they're A tier, in my opinion. They're the ones with little dragons on. Are they... What the hell are they again? Gauls? No, they have a different role. Are they better than Night Goblins? Actually, if the two came into a scrap, the Leathern Sea Guard would be on for it, because they'd shoot quite a few before they got there, and they might even panic them off. So, that's a tricky one. That is a tricky one indeed. I don't know. But anyway, the point is, Leathern Sea Guard, like they are, if you're a high elf player, they're pretty much your default core choice, aren't they? Aren't they? High elf players, comment down below. Right, so that's that. We've done Chaos Dwarves. Let's do Vampires. Vampires have a few in core, which is weird. Well, it's not, but anyway, you've got Skeleton Warriors, Zombies, Crypt Ghouls, and these are if. So Bat Swarms and Direwolves come under a different category. So we've got Skeleton Warriors, Zombies, and all of these, right, are just solid B tier stuff. Actually, I can just go through them all at the same time, because Skeleton Warriors are cheap, but you can resurrect them, which is their main strength, really. It's just not dying. Zombies are even cheaper, and you can resurrect them. Plus, you can resurrect them past their starting size, but they are limited to a mere 40 on the table. So quite often what you see in tournaments is people taking like 26, 27 zombies in a unit, because they're going to make that 40 over the start of their first turn, basically. Skeleton Warriors have to die before they're brought back, which is terrible. But, you know, they do have hordes, so both of them have hordes, so they get 3 ranks, which is pretty good. And they can take thrusting spears, which only gets them up to initiative 2, so, you know, whatever. But it's just more attacks, isn't it? The attacks are pretty weak, though, so, you know, them actually doing any damage themselves. The job of both of these is just to sit as placeholders while other stuff does the work. The Crypt Ghouls, however, and they're cheap enough to be good at that. The Crypt Ghouls, however, are good for a different reason, because they've got poison attacks and they've got lots of them. They've got reserve move, which means they get to move essentially 10 inches. They are skirmishers, which is the -1 to hit in shooting. They've got move through cover, which is excellent. And the champion is a cheap way of just getting an extra attack in your front rank. So they're solid and good, and you know, you don't have to work very hard to get your points back with them. So Skeleton Warriors, Zombie, the Crypt Ghouls, and Zombles, where were they? There, they go there. Now, Oh no, they're not 0 to 1 if, are they? Sorry, I have done Grail Guard because you have to take. They're a bit like Black Orcs. You have to take a white in order to take. Them. Grave Guard, right. Now, they are toughness 4 but resurrectable and have heavy armor and shields. So they're pretty good already, considering the fact that you can bring them back. You can give them drilled, and again, it's fairly easy to get reserve move. You can give them implacable defense, which is like the Neocaran Phalanx thing. You can just choose not to give ground because they don't fall back in good order undead. Because they're unbreakable. They just get pushed back 2 inches. So drilled is useful for that because you can reform to get more stuff in your more ranks or flanks. More stuff in combat, basically, as you get pushed around. So drilled is definitely worth it. Takes them up to 13 points. The banners they've got are okay. You'll want to use the banners on other stuff anyway, so Graveguard not so much. They are okay. They got weapon skill 3. They can take great weapons. Their main ability really is cleaving blow, but you can't get extra attacks on them, so they're not as good as like the Team Guard, for instance. But they are still pretty good. I think are they as good as veterans? No, I think they go there. I think they go at the bottom of A. They do all right against Leathern Sea God. In fact, they'd probably beat them point for point because they cost about the same. So 10 of them against 10 of them. I'd fancy the Graveguard. Oh no, well, actually no, I wouldn't. They just get outmaneuvered. Yeah, they'd never get into combat. So yeah. Cool. Screwdriver? I don't know. Not in here. Cool. Moving on. We've got... so that's the vampires done. Skaven is very easy. These are rattling gun delivery systems of clan rats, and they are middle of B tier. Now, this is terrible, because rattling guns are ace. Rattling guns aren't reliable. That's the thing. They don't reliably get their points back. They do always get to stand and shoot, but they're not skirmishers. So they're close order, which is good in terms of you can redirect charges with it. However, it's bad because you can be charged in the flank or rear, so you don't get to stand and shoot. So it's just a little... So rattling guns are ace. They're a bit like having a little portable, hell blaster, which is made of handguns, basically, which doesn't suffer any penalties for move or shoot or the multiple shots or anything. So it's pretty good. Strength 4 AP1, you get on average like 10 shots a turn, which is basically the same as having 10 handgunners. But with the unit it comes with, it costs about twice, getting on for twice the price of 10 handgunners. So they're okay. They're pretty good. But, in my Skaven list, they are literally... I just take literally 20 naked clan rats, basically. Nothing. Because they're just a rattling gun delivery system. The unit itself is absolutely awful, even if you give it all the upgrades. So I'm not even going to, offend anybody by actually having a look at it. Storm Vermin. Storm Vermin are a different kettle of fish. They're probably even worse. Same tier. Like, I'd put them... Yeah, there. They're better than Skeleton Warriors. They're better than Vampire Count stuff, but not by much. Yeah. Maybe I'm doing these down a bit. I think I might be doing zombies down a disservice. But anyway, there's a lot going in B. There's a lot of stuff which I think is good, but it's not very good. Cool, so that's Skaven done. Ogres don't have any infantry. Lizardmen just have Saurus Warriors. Saurus Warriors are, in my opinion, quite bad. They do have lots of attacks, but they're initiative 1, which is terrible. They may take thrusting spears, which means you get an extra attack from the back. From the second rank. Just 1, not 2. Which is alright. They've got toughness 4, heavy armor, shields, reasonable leadership, and cold-blooded. So they're not going to be failing fear and panic tests particularly frequently. And obsidian blades gives their hand weapons AP 1, so you might want to stick with hand weapons. Or armor bane 1 or something like that. But other than that, the upgrades they get aren't particularly brilliant, and they're so expensive for, you know... It's because they got more attacks. More attacks cost a lot of points, but, like... It's not necessarily as good. So, you know, there's nothing that gets them reliably into combat, so... You've got to work your arse off to get any points with them. Probably even down here. Yep, moving on. So... Now we've got, let's do Dark Elves, because you've got Dark Elf Warriors, I think. Yeah. Pardon me, should have turned the mic off for that. Oh no, and Black Art Corsairs, haven't you? So Dark Elf Warriors are relatively cheap elf spears. They're the same as the High Elf Warriors. Why am I even bothering? Like... What's that? Don't know what they are. Oh, I've got Temple Guard there as well. Oh, I forgot about Temple Guard. They're just a better version of Saurus Warriors, to be honest, and just more expensive. Dark Elf Warriors go here. They go with High Elf spears. They're exactly the same, right? Black Art Corsairs are different. Black Art Corsairs are more expensive, and they do have repeater hand bows, which is all right. They've got move through, cover, and open order and stuff. So again, they're okay. Where are they? It's this unit here, but they are more expensive. So, I mean, I guess they're about the same. Are they top of C tier? No, they're probably worse than Chaos Warriors. They go there. They're worse than Goblins, just about. Because, again, for 10 of these, you could take 30 Goblins, and I think 30 Goblins could have them. You know, they'd certainly get them with combat res, which is essentially the job of core, you know, infantry blocks. So, yep. Cool, so that's the... Have I just got demons left and whatever the hell that unit is? I don't know. Oh no, ogres! I did miss one. It's the Gnoblars, who are absolute trash, but kind of on purpose. Gnoblar... Where the heck are they gone? Gnoblar... Gnoblar fighters. There they are. Yeah, there they are. Gnoblar fighters. Here we go. 2 points each. So 100 of them is 200 points. Like, for the cost of 10 Corsairs, you could probably get around about 60 Gnoblars. 50, 60 Gnoblars, something like that. They would just run away, though. They do get close order, and they do get hordes. They get a rank bonus of 3. They've got throwing weapons, which aren't terrible, and ballistic skill 3. So stand and shoot's going to hurt. But then they're not going to do anything, and they're just going to die. I think they're good because they're cheap, though. Because, like, if you think chucking a few blocks of 20 of these on the table, right? Just 20, because they'll either die or they'll do something, right? To just gum up the table. It's only cost you 40 points. Like, they're so cheap, they're actually good. That, oh man. Where to put them? I'm gonna cop out and put them with Orcs and Skaven. Because they kind of fulfill that role of just being really cheap stuff to gum up the table. The difference between, like, Gnoblars and Skaven is that Gnoblars have something that will hit the enemy after they've hit the Gnoblars. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. So that was ogres. And then... Oh, no, they're not Noblars. They're Hobgoblin fighters. Sorry, they're Noblars. Right, so then we've got some demons. So basically what we've got is Bloodletters, Plague Bearers, Demonettes, and Pink Horrors. No, I haven't put any horrors in, sorry. So I've only got 3 units because they're shooting. Definitely. Right, so Bloodletters are very expensive. 14 points. They've got light armour and they've got a 5-up ward against non-magical. They've got magic resistance 1, which is quite good. They've got impetuous, which is a massive downside. They are movement 5, which is pretty quick. Yeah, so it's a massive downside, and there's not much of upside, really. Hellblades are like... What are they? They're definitely 1 AP. I do remember that. God, my knee is hurting so much. I think I've overworked it today. Stupid Dan. Stupid Dan. Strength. Oh, they have... Okay, so it's just AB1, but cleaving blow. So 6 is to wound, you get no armor save, or... So basically, cleaving blow is armor bane 5, for want of a better way of expressing it. So, you know, they are good, but, you know... And when they're charged, because the Demons of Khorne, they go up to strength 5, which is okay. But 14 points for that is just way too much. Like, you're just not going to get your points back. Like, you're going to have to work your arse off, but you to get your points back. Yeah, so that definitely goes into a C category. Next is, I think, Plague Bearers of Nurgle. These are better. They have toughness 4, which is good. They've got regen 6, and they've got their 5-up ward, which makes them a bit more survivor bubble. They do have poisoned attacks, which is, you know... Is it better than cleaving blow? Who knows? Statistically, probably not. What they do have as Demons of Nurgle is you've got to reroll 6s to hit against them, which means they're a bit more defensible in combat. But still, 13 points is very expensive for that kind of get-up. You know, the 5-up ward and 6-up regen, I don't think it makes up for them being not very good. They're kind of on par with Chaos Warriors, I think. You've got to work to get your points back. They're probably top end of C tier, to be honest. Like, I could see them doing okay against Spears and against Chaos Warriors, but yeah. Demonettes are next. We're nearly there. Again, it's the same thing. They're just a bit too expensive. They're initiative 5. They do get +1 to charge and to, you know, roll and result. They've got piercing claws, which are AP1 armor bane 2, and they give you an extra attack. So they've got 2 attacks each. They are only toughness 3 with a 5-up ward, though, so they die so easily. But they are initiative 5, and movement 5 is quite good. Again, I think... Oh, I forgot about Dryads. I think they're about on par with Dryads, actually. Oh, they're not better than any of the undead stuff. Are they? They could possibly chew through it. They're more ghouls. Ghouls are so much cheaper. You'd have so many more ghouls. I guess the ghouls are slightly better. I think they're better than zombies. Oh, no, they're not. Right, okay, so they go there. And then finally, Furies. Furies are a very different kettle of fish. They're right at the end, somewhere around here. Yeah. They have Fly 8, which is quite a slow fly move. Although it does give them movement 8, obviously. They're skirmishers. They got Swift Stride, so they got a 17-inch threat range. They got Vanguard. You can give them Demons of Khorne, which is +1 strength on the charge. They have Demonic Talons, which are there. So you got 1 attack, strength 5. Furious Charge gives you +1 attack on the charge. That was how they had 2 attacks. So 2 attacks at strength 5, no AP. Oh, sorry, AP 1 is pretty good actually. There's a lot of utility in that. And skirmishes means you're less likely to get taken out. So they're probably... These are difficult to place, to be honest. Because they just offer you in the middle. Cop out in the middle. And then I think I've got another picture for Storm Vermin for some reason. I don't know what they are. Hold on. I'll just have a look at the picture. They're clan rats. What the hell have I used for... Oh, I put rattling guns in. Okay. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I was doing a clan rats without rattling guns. There you go. They go on the bottom quite convincingly. Right, let's go back to my books folder because I've been closing them off. So we need to do good guys and we need chorfs. Right, chorfs, they've got some hobgoblin fighters who, from memory, are awful. Where are they? Hobgoblin cutthroats, who are, I suppose, 3 points. They fulfill that same void as like Noblars, really. In fact, they are just better than Noblars as well. That's funny. So wherever I put Noblars, which is what I thought these were initially, these need to go next to. And in front of, there's Noblars, there. Then finally, Dryads. Dryads, I mean, I think they're alright. Like, I know some people don't like them. Where are they? Here. So, they're skirmishers. They move through cover. You know, that's all alright. They have 2 attacks each for 13 points, which again is expensive, but again, they're skirmishers, so they're less likely to get taken out by shooting. They've got toughness 4, which makes them pretty good. Weapon skill 4 is pretty good. I don't know why they're BS4, because they don't have any magical stuff. The nymph can take forest spites up to 25 points, and they're okay. They're quite helpful. They do have magical attacks as well. They are flammable, which is pretty bad, as there's a lot of stuff that's got flaming attacks. And they're stubborn, which is pretty useful for essentially holding up a unit while you get around the flank. And I think it's stubborn that makes them very good. Because little units of 5 of these, yes, it's going to be quite expensive points-wise, but actually all they're going to do is ensure that you know where an enemy unit's going to be next turn, because it's going to have to charge them or do nothing. And then you can countercharge with your like Wild Riders or whatever. So I think they're very good because of that battlefield role. Again, they fulfill the same battlefield role as Gauls. It's just that Wood Elves in general aren't as good as Beastmen overall. So I'll put them below that. So that's my tier listing for core infantry, and it's taken a lot longer than I thought it was going to take, to be honest. Mainly because I spent some time faffing around, so that could be the problem. But 1 hour 20, that's all right. Anyway, if you've liked the video, there's a button for that. If you want to subscribe, do. It's up to you, and I'll see you around soon. Toodaloo.